This is a mysterious double murder. An elderly retired couple living out their golden years on a beautiful lakefront house here in Georgia. He's decapitated. His head has not been found. Her body was recovered 5 miles from the home in the lake. Our affiliate WSB talked to the FBI agent who is leading the FBI investigation into this case.
It is personal. There's a lot of indications of the psychology and the behavior behind that. It's not a random crime.
Britt Johnson, FBI special agent in charge for the Atlanta Field Division that covers all of Georgia, says he put agents in Putnam County to investigate what became the Derman double murder at the request of Sheriff Howard Sills.
We will be there as long as we're needed.
But he says it's tailor-made for what the FBI can do. For one, add manpower to a big mystery in a small community.
How many people have you had involved?
It's around 40 people.
That ranges, he says, from agents to evidence experts, some involved a few hours, some for the duration thus far. He says the Bureau's brought the expertise of criminal profilers at its behavioral analysis unit.
Trying to establish a profile. But in addition, they can go back and look against a database nationwide.
He says from even tiny traces at the Greatwater subdivision where the Dermans live and elsewhere, the Bureau's crime lab can do great things.
If there's specific, ropes or materials that we could identify the origin of manufacture, potentially where they've been purchased.
And he says there's ultra-sophisticated high-tech stuff that he can't let the bad guys know about. Johnson says some legal limitations on what kind of help the FBI can provide kicked in after the discovery of Shirley Derman's body in Lake Oconee meant the case was no longer a kidnapping investigation.
I think the good Lord has provided us with the recovery of her body.
But the Sheriff Sills' request for FBI assistance means the agents still have a lot of latitude.
When we have something that we could potentially solve that has very few leads, that's actually the one that I think inspires that fire in the belly the most.
It's personal. The killing or killings, murders, were personal. What does that mean? Where does that lead investigators? Joining me on the phone is Putnam County Sheriff Howard Sills. Sheriff, thanks so much for joining us. I know you're extremely busy. We appreciate your time today. Let's begin there with it's personal. What does that mean that you guys believe this murder, double murder, was personal?
Well, one thing that we believe is because there was no forced entry or anything disturbed in the home, that leads us to a logical conclusion that they knew the individual they opened the door for, and that in itself is a personal connection. So
a personal connection, or does it mean that they knew, that you believe they knew the murder or murderers versus some sort of personal vendetta?
It could be either one, but I'm leaning towards the former, that they knew them in some way. That doesn't necessarily mean they were friends, but someone that they knew.
Okay, so getting into the scope of who that would include or exclude, what sort of conclusions have you gotten to, or how are you working that?
We are still interviewing these people had lots of friends, and we are still locating and interviewing people that knew them to see what they know about them. This is a resort-type community. People are not here all the time. Now, the Dermans were full-time residents, but very few people on the street where this occurred are full-time residents, so we're having to track people down around the country and the world, for that matter. One of the neighbors was out of the country at the time, and those are the kind of things we're pursuing from the standpoint of interviewing people that knew them.
Sheriff, this is Mike Brooks. Do you believe that the killers came to the house and left the house in a boat?
Definitely. One part of this crime occurred by boat. The location where we found Mrs. Derman's body, where we retrieved it, rather, it had to have been, in my opinion, knowing the lake as I do, it was some 5 miles away from the home, and it pretty much had to have been placed there by boat.